Hey guys, Mike from Nerd Problems Gaming here, and welcome to Nerd Problems Gaming, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. And today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Is it worth it, or should you just stick with the regular Joy-Con? You know, what's the difference, and is this controller really worth it? So again, stay tuned. We'll talk about that today. So I've had a Nintendo Switch for about 8 or 9 months or so at this point, and for the most part, I really just used this Joy-Con controller, and there was definitely some pros to it, some cons to it. One of the things that I found is that if I was playing a game like Breath of the Wild, I played that all the way through, and I didn't really find it was a huge deal using this controller. You know, it wasn't that big of an issue. Some of the games too, when you're playing like two-player, for example, I was not really a fan of using it, sideways, right? Because again, the Joy-Cons are basically different in the placement of their joystick, for example. So I found that that was a little frustrating, a little weird, because it's not in the center on both, it's not on the left on both. So some of them I found were definitely more comfortable than others to play with, especially in the two-player mode. Now, that kind of had me looking at, should I get a Pro controller? Should I get a controller that I can really have a great two-player experience with? But another thing that I found with this Joy-Con controller was playing like intense platformer type games. So, one of the games that I had gotten was the kind of Castlevania-ish spin-off, right? The Curse of the Moon. And so I had gotten that game, and I just found that as I was playing those, side-scrolling, intense platformers where you're going back and forth, you're switching buttons all the time, I actually found it was kind of rubbing my fingers raw, where even though I was only playing for, 20, 30 minutes, and I tried to play longer play times, but, it was actually hurting my fingers playing that, going back and forth so much. And I think it's just because the buttons are a little smaller, they're a little more raised, and really that kind of had me looking at another game to actually play. But I think was kind of the nail in the coffin when I got the new Super Smash Bros. Ultimate game. And again, that was really high intense action. You're going back and forth, you're jumping all over the screen. And again, it was really hurting my fingers just after a few minutes. And so another game that I had played as well was Mega Man 11. I downloaded the demo, really excited to play, but again, that was another fast-paced platforming game where you're jumping all over the screen and going back and forth a lot. And again, just going through the demo is really just one stage that you get to play, and just playing that itself, again, was hurting my fingers, and it was not really a great fun experience. And I ended up buying Mega Man 11 on Xbox One for that sole purpose, just because of the controller. So that being said, I felt like I would actually pull the trigger and get the Nintendo Switch Pro controller to see if it really made that much of a difference. And a lot of people are maybe hesitant because it's around $70 right now if you go buy it at a store, Target, Walmart, whatever, Best Buy. That's typically the price you're going to find is $70. They do actually have it a little bit less on Amazon. Recently I found it was around $65, so you save a few bucks there. So I'll actually throw a link in the description below where you can pick it up over on Amazon, save a few bucks on this controller if you do want to check it out. But for me, there's a lot of different advantages to this controller that I really liked. One, again, it's wireless, so that's cool. You get that advantage to it. On top of that, it's got these cool pads, and so it may be a little hard to see on the screen here, but what's cool is it's got this covering. It's kind of like a little rubber covering, and so as you play for longer play sessions and maybe your hands get a little bit sweaty, it's still pretty simple. It feels great. You can still have that great grip, and it's not going to be sliding all over the place, which is really cool. So I definitely like that aspect of it. The buttons themselves are not super raised up, which is great. They're they're enough that you know they're there, right? But over longer play sessions, I was not experiencing the same kind of thing I was with the Joy-Con controller, where my fingers were hurting. And really, when I started playing Smash Bros, for example, with this controller, it was just a night and day difference. It felt so much better. It felt like a completely different game, to be honest. You know, it was that much of a better experience actually playing with this controller compared to the Joy-Con. So I would definitely recommend picking up this Nintendo Switch controller if you've been on the fence. It's definitely worth it, in my opinion. You know, the first thing that I did too, once I got this controller, was actually busted out. I re-downloaded the Mega Man 11 demo, and I tried out that Bloodstained game as well, because again, I wanted to see what it was like on those 2D platformers, or again, those intense platforming games, to see if it really made the difference with this controller compared to other ones out on the market and the Joy-Con. And what I found too is that, you know, during my research, looking at this controller, reading about it, seeing what other people had to say, a lot of people said with the older versions of this controller that the D-pad didn't work that great, that it was harder to do platforming games, that sometimes it wouldn't register right. And so what I found playing those games, I kind of tested it out with Mega Man. That was going to be like my standard, right? So when I played that, like I said, I wasn't having any issues. I was able to slide, jump, charge my shot, move all around, do the different things that I wanted to do without really any issues with it. I also tried it out, like I said, on that Bloodstained game as well, and so I didn't find any issues with that when I played that game either. And so again, I think for me, it met the test, it met the requirements. I was happy with it playing those side-scrolling games with the D-pad. But again, just the overall feel, it feels more like a traditional controller that you're probably used to if you've played, you know, PlayStation 4, you played Xbox One, Xbox 360, whatever the case might be. It just feels a lot better in your hand. It's bigger. That's one thing that I found with the Joy-Con controller. It's like really small in your hand, especially if you have big hands, right? Maybe if you're a kid or your kids are playing, it's not a big deal to play the two-player sideways, right? Or in this controller. While this is comfortable, it wasn't whenever I tried to play those intense side-scrolling platforming games. There was a lot of movement, a lot of action going on at once. I found that I did not really enjoy this controller, and even hurt my hands. Where this game, I can do longer play sessions. It feels great. And again, definitely worth the money to get this controller. So again, guys, hopefully you got some benefit and value out of this video. If you did, feel free to comment and share. Let me know in the comments below if you found that this controller works great for you, if you like this Pro controller, if this video helped you get off the fence, that you want to get it now and you were on the fence before, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then also definitely be sure to subscribe to our channel here and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest videos on, you know, unboxings, nerd reviews, video games, let's plays, and more. So definitely subscribe to our channel here as well to get access to that. And then also, you know, maybe you have a YouTube channel like this, right? Maybe you want to talk about things you're passionate about. Maybe you're a nerd like me and you want to grow a channel on gaming or, you know, books or movies or whatever the case might be. If that's the case, I actually put together a free YouTube growth guide to teach you how to grow a profitable YouTube channel. So again, definitely check that out. It's free. I'll put a link below this video, or again, you can actually go to nerdproblemsgaming.com/YouTube growth. So again, that's nerdproblemsgaming.com/YouTube growth. Or you can just click on the link below this video as well to get access to that free guide. But again, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you more soon.